Present me, how much will that cost me?
Well, I work on a contingent fee basis, and that is sort of like parts and labor. I charge a third of whatever we get. A third of zero is, of course, zero, and a third of $3,000 is $1,000. And if it's $300,000 that I get for you, then the fee is a third of that. You won't have to pay any attorney's fee if I don't get a verdict for you. It's like parts and labor. If I don't fix it, you don't have to pay for it. But you do have to pay for the parts. So what are the parts? The parts in law are called costs, and there are things like the cost of filing the suit, getting copies of medical records, perhaps copies of x-rays, maybe there will be a deposition. The biggest single expense will be to have an expert go to the courtroom and testify about your injury.
Will you talk to me about any cost you advance as far as how much it will cost me?
We certainly can do that. That's not any problem at all. I'd be delighted to tell you what we're going to spend and get your permission. I generally like to be able to spend a certain amount without having to call and ask permission, just because it's convenient for me, and perhaps it's convenient for you not to be called for every single expense, but I will simply bill you for the things that I've spent money for, and I'll call and ask for any substantial expense.
In the future, when I call your office, will I be speaking directly with you or your staff?
Well, I guess it's like calling any other office, doctor or veterinarian, or in this case a lawyer. You certainly will be answered on the telephone by one of my staff. It's not always true, but frequently they are more up to date at the moment than I am. They're doing the things that they can do, which frees me up to do the things that they can't do.
After hiring you, what can I expect you to do for me from today on?
Well, the first thing we'll do is make sure that we have a copy of your accident report. If I have the case early enough, I will send a court reporter to traffic court, because sometimes people do what I call George Washington and the cherry tree. They go to the courtroom and they're looking for a low fine, and so they tell the judge it's all their fault. And then later, when the defense lawyer has worked with them a little bit, you can tell it's the same accident only because it happened on the same day, same place, same time, same people involved in the same cars. Otherwise, how it happened might be totally different. So I take care of that by sending a court reporter when I can, when I get the case early enough, to traffic court. The next thing we will do is we will see about getting your medical records and your bills. Your main and most important job is to get well, to do the best you can to recover from your injuries.
Should I be contacting your staff to keep them advised of my treatment?
Yes, you should call and ask, or rather tell what your situation is, and if you have a question, ask them. If they know, they'll tell you. If they don't know, they'll ask me, and we'll schedule the time for me to call you back and tell you what I think about a particular situation. The scheduling thing is nice for you, and it's also nice for me. It's nice for you because you will know when to expect a call, you won't miss the call, and it's nice for me because I will have a chance to think about what it is that you're asking me, rather than just giving you an answer off the top of my head. I can give you good information, and there won't be any of that telephone tag because you will have scheduled a time for me to call you.
How quickly can I expect my case to be resolved or settled?
Well, that depends. Each jurisdiction is different. That is, Fredericksburg is different from Spotsylvania, Stafford, King George. What is different is the volume of work that the courts have. In most cases, it takes, if you have to go to circuit court, at least a year to get into the courtroom. That's terrible, because you want to go right now and get it over with. is very good in that it gives you a chance to get well, or hopefully you will get well, but if you don't get well, then enough time will have elapsed that we'll be able to prove that your injury is permanent, and you will be compensated accordingly.
If my case turns out to be a small case, can I expect my case to settle quicker?
Yes, you can. A large case generally will not settle until you're right almost at the time of court. A smaller case is, of course, easier to settle. There's less involved, and if it's a very small case, $15,000 or less, it could go to general district court. If it goes to general district court, your court costs are much lower because you won't have to take an expert to court. You can do it off of certified records, which is something you cannot do in circuit court. And you generally get into general district court within maybe 3 months or so.